I used to be afraid of you, but I don't think I am anymore.
There's nothing to fear except God.
For me, God is a disease.
It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. The hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up. The government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it.
There's nothing to fear except God. God. God.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask?
It's too big.
Back and to the left, 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 back and to the left.
What's up, everybody? Merry Christmas. We're here, Half a God's Face podcast. This will be our first episode after Christmas, though me and Austin have decided to see Marty Supreme and do a reaction, even though I don't like Timothy Chalamet.
Oh my gosh,
upfront.
especially now, dude.
We'll get into it. I don't want to poison the well. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people, and it's kind of like inevitable sometimes. Like you have your preconceptions and stuff, but if you just go into a movie having like a bad feeling, you can like dislike it. And I'm actually really looking forward to Marty Supreme. I think it'll be really like entertaining. But yeah, have you seen like I've seen clips of him on this press tour.
He's going for it. He's like, this is my best performance. Like,
That's
a weird thing to say. I feel like even if you think that, you shouldn't say that out loud, is my take.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week and stuff, but yeah, I thought I heard him say something like he's trying to be the GOAT or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'm sure Marlon Brando and Daniel Day-Lewis and Humphrey Bogart all said that as well. You stupid. So anyway, I'll go on my rant about it next week, depending on how good the movie is, because it looks really good.
It does.
And I hear everyone loves it. But yeah, so we're here to do our podcast on The Secret Agent, which is a movie that I think we touched on in our con breakdown because it won Best Actor and Best Director at Cannes this year. And the lead, I actually am so stupid, I haven't even seen this show, but did you realize the lead of The Secret Agent played Pablo Escobar on Narcos?
No.
Yeah, that show that everyone like watched about Pablo Escobar. It's
Oh.
the lead of The Secret Agent plays Pablo Escobar. So that actually makes a lot more sense why, you know, a movie from, again, a really well-respected Brazilian director has just feels like it has like a rocket ship attached to it. It's getting so much hype. And it was like that in Cannes. And I just assumed it was because it was on based on merit, which it totally is. I mean, Wagner Moura.
Yes.
Which we'll see. This is actually a really interesting 1-2 punch for us to do The Secret Agent and Marty Supreme, because it's kind of sounding like this is going to be like a real race between these two guys for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Is that what you're hearing too?
I mean, yeah, I really didn't hear anything about it till I saw the movie. I mean, I went to that, I brought it up before, the indie theater in Akron, and it was kind of cool because the people working there were talking. And they're like, "Oh yeah, have you seen it?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Yeah, I really, really love the actor in this. I think he should win the Oscar for it." And I was like, "Oh, that's all right."
Yeah. No, I mean, because out of Con, the way, so I was listening to like a podcast with a couple of film critics and just reading reviews out of Con, and everybody loved this movie. Everybody. No one said the movie was bad. Every
Yeah.
single person said the movie was amazing. I barely realized who the director was. He Kleber Mendonça Filho. Um, he had made this movie Aquarius a couple years ago, which Nabil was super hyped on, and I remember really liking Aquarius, kind of about like an older woman, and I remember it being really touching, but I have a bad memory of it. It's been years since I saw that. But when I realized that he made Aquarius, I was like, oh my God. So I have seen a movie from this guy, but oh my God. I was pretty floored. So kind of my experience with The Secret Agent, I had really, really high expectations with it. And I had heard a lot about the movie. I had heard that, and this is kind of my experience with it, and this is what I heard before I saw it was that it's kind of an abstract like secret agent kind of movie. Like it takes you in a direction that you like aren't expecting, and it has like kind of but the descriptions I had heard of about it were not as direct as I feel like the end, because my experience with the film was that the first like hour and a half of this movie, you kind of get introduced to this character who has a beard, and
I don't know.
he it's in Brazil, and it's just extremely Brazilian. And there's very
Yeah.
little plot momentum, in my opinion, in the first hour 30.
Oh,
And I
for
was
sure.
almost scratching my head, like not like I was like thinking the movie was bad, but I was like,
Why does
just
everyone love this? In terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
like
I
a
was kind
grand
of like
audience,
people.
because
Yeah, I was kind of surprised on how much hype there was in the first hour and a half, and it was reminding me of Aquarius a little bit too, where I was like, I hadn't even seen Aquarius in a while, but it's very much like a slice of life kind of thing. And so
yeah.
there's this guy with this beard. The opening sequence is hilarious. He pulls up to a gas station in this yellow Beetle, and this big fat ass guy comes walking out with his stomach hanging out, and as he pulls in the gas station, there's just a dead body like on the ground, like a couple like 20 feet away. And he's like, what the hell is that? And this guy, the gas station attendant, this fat guy's like, oh yeah, no, he tried to like rob us. So the other guy shot him, and the cops haven't taken the body yet. And he's like, what? He's just like so sketched out. And then these cops show up, and you're like, oh, they're going to get rid of the body. And they just act really sketch, right? They like come up to him, and they kind of inspect his car, and they look through all his stuff, and and because the movie's
They do
called this,
everything but detain him, basically.
yeah, and because the movie's called The Secret Agent, the whole time you're thinking, oh, is this guy like undercover, and this is like the
Yeah.
police, like so the movie, and then the cops are like, oh, do you have any money to donate to us? And he's just like, oh, I got cigarettes, and then they take up his pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And the music is pretty amazing in this movie, just amazing, like
Mm.
70s era music, both Brazilian music, but also I think there's a really iconic like American song that he plays in the car as he drives away in kind of like the opening credits after this scene. But there's kind of like this casualness to it. Like I almost would describe it. It kind of has like a Richard Linklater kind of feeling at times, because this character goes to this house, and he meets this old woman who's just immediately hilarious. And I don't know about your screening, but she was just killing. Like all the people, like she was just constantly getting laughs. I was in a sold out
Yeah.
screening of. It was a smaller theater that I was in Music Box, but this older woman was just so funny, and she's kind of introducing him to this house, and you're just kind of scratching your head like, wait, who is this guy? Like it's just so casual, like the way that the movie starts, that you're like, wait, is it's like, like with the Mastermind, I was almost starting to think that it was like an ironic title, you know
Yeah.
and as the movie progresses, you start getting introduced to these side characters. There's these detectives that are showing up. They're partying carnival, which I guess is like, it almost seems like a New Year's Eve kind of thing, because I think it's set in January when you're introduced to this
Mm.
whole thing. So I think it's like their version of like a New Year's Eve. Someone's gonna correct me potentially, but it's like like a Brazilian holiday where they just party for like a week. And so these detectives show up like looking all like, like they've just been partying, and they open up the mouth of this like shark, and there's like a human arm in it, and you're like, what the fuck? And then there's another sequence where like these hitmen like get rid of a body and like throw it in the ocean. So there's this weird feeling to the movie, but it keeps going back to the main character, and a lot of his interactions are just with the people in this house. It's him kind of getting a job, and there's just a lot of kind of mundane conversation, like women kind of liking him. He's a handsome guy, and then you get introduced to his son and all this stuff, and I wouldn't quite go as far as say it's documentary, but it has this casual kind of accumulation to it, and there's so many amazing performances even early on where you're like, wow, he has so many great faces, so many distinctive faces, and there's such a cultural like immersion. Like that's kind of the feeling I got from watching it is like, wow, this is what Brazil is like. Everyone's just so friendly and everyone wants to party. And like, you know, there's that scene where he's working in the identification office, and that woman gives him a piece of paper, and she's like, "Are you interested in women?"
Yeah.
And I forgot where I heard this, but I've heard random people say before that in Brazil the women will just like make the first move, like with
Oh,
guys. Yeah, I've heard that's like a thing. So
I did not know that. That's cool.
there's a real like Brazilian kind of thing with the movie, and we'll probably circle back if I'm forgetting little details about the first hour and a half. Then there's this insane. Okay, and then I think there's a moment where this man who is I think his name is like Roberto or something, or Rigetto or something. But no, yeah, it's definitely Garotti. So there's this part early in the movie in that first half, like first hour, after you are introduced to these hitmen getting rid of this body, and you
Hmm.
don't really know who the body is or what. You kind of circle back in your brain. You're like, is that the whole thing with the shark, right? Like, maybe that's the body they got rid of, and
You're
and
right.
then the cops are potentially corrupt, so the cops are, like, taking notice of this, like, arm being like, "Oh, we know who did this." But Garotti, there's a scene where he meets the hitman and he goes, "Shoot him in the mouth. I want you to shoot him in the mouth." And it's just, like, really chilling the way he kinda says it forcefully, but kinda under his breath, like, not loud. And these 2
Yeah.
hitman, it's like this guy, Bobby, and then this older guy with a mustache. And again, all the faces are just amazing. Like
Mm.
like really, it really is like this huge ensemble, and everyone has so much personality and like just such dignified faces. And so then you're kind of introduced to the secret agent main character guy working in this identification office and just living life. And at a certain point, he's like visiting his dad at like a movie theater that he works at. And then he has this scene, and I feel like this is where I was like, okay, this movie is really starting to like build and like go towards somewhere where like the plot is like intensifying, where he starts talking to a woman and kind of explaining the plot, where he says this is like she's recording him with a tape recorder.
Yeah.
Salva, I think is her name.
Yeah, and they're in the movie theater.
Yeah, they're like up in an office in the movie theater, and it has this really amazing intensity to it because you're starting to get this vibe that like, oh, he must have had some kind of beef with that Garrotti guy, and then you kind of get the context that he was like working at a college, and he kind of had a beef with Garrotti, and then he like had to like run, and then I'm pretty sure it's heavily hinted at that Garrotti might have like killed his wife.
Yeah, we don't know. Because he,
It's
he
never
says he says to
clarified,
his
but
son that she got sick, but you would guess maybe that's he would lie to his son about it.
yeah, because in the flashback, his wife like fights Garrotti, and then Garrotti's son,
Oh, that
and
scene had a lot of reaction in my screening when she's kind of like holding her tongue and then she starts yelling at him and he's like, "Control your woman, dude."
yeah,
There,
yeah,
everyone in the
because
audience was like, "Oh." It
yeah,
was
because
cool.
their conflict was like the fact that Garrotti and the main guy, which is again, he kind of has the most that the movie exemplifies its title is in the fact that he has two names. So he
Mm.
shaves off his beard, so he has an even bigger beard in the flashback where he's talking with Garrotti. and
longer hair.
yeah, and he like kind of looks like a hippie, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get this guy's vibe a little bit more. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't really understand like what the beef was over. It had something to do with this Garrote guy being like, we're gonna like get rid of like a program at like a college or something.
Yeah, they're like shutting down, I guess, research and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
So it was
basically like
something.
the man comes into your institution and takes everything away from you that you've been building and building and building to try to get achieved.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of that's the vibe, I would say.
Yeah, it's like something along those lines. And so the other context about it that's super important, and it really is very similar to One Battle After Another in this sense, is that because the movie's set in the 70s in Brazil, it has really the inspiration for the film is it's about the dictatorship that Brazil was under a military dictatorship for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And the filmmaker, Filho, he kind of like I was saying with all the faces and stuff and like the music and like the feeling of the film is very nostalgic because like he even said like I watched an interview today where his answer for a lot of questions was like, yeah, that's how it was like, he was asked like why does he drive a yellow Beetle? He's like, oh yeah, that I remember my uncle. He said, I remember my uncle driving a yellow Beetle when I was young. And then he's asked questions like that in Q&As, the director, and it's all very literal. It's like he very much is kind of recreating what it was like when he was a kid, like the things that he remembers. And so the movie, a lot of it is this there's this like totalitarianism kind of like corrupt thing that's very subtle though, because like we said, so much of this is set up in a casual way, and then you see these flashbacks where you really see the conflict, where you see kind of like a hippie kind of college like professor butting heads with this Garrote guy, and he says to the woman who's recording him, Salva, he's like, I'm not violent, but I would kill this man with a hammer. He's like, I would kill him with a hammer. And again, up until this scene, you don't really know. I feel like up until that scene, it isn't even really clear how legit he is. Like, is he actually a secret agent or what? So the title isn't
Yeah.
actually literal because he's more just a guy who is on the run, because they explain it like he's in kind of like a low key witness protection. Like it's almost like someone with money is like sponsoring him to get away from this kind of fascist
Yes.
thug who may or may not have killed his wife. And so he goes, I think his real name is Armando, and then he goes by Marcelo. And so there's a lot of that in the second half of the movie where people are either saying his real name or his fake name. And as this woman is recording him on the tape recorder, it cuts to like the 2020s.
Present day.
It cuts to present day, and there's these two women that are like in their 20s that are listening on iPhones to the tape recording, and they're like asking each other like, and they're like looking through archival material of the 70s. So you're like, wait, what? Like the movie just starts juggling this other like time aspect to it where you're like, I
Yeah.
wonder if this is gonna play out. And
And
so
yeah, it's not used like that much because like I
Mhm.
feel like when that happens in film, it's like every other scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just constantly back and forth, but it stays mostly in the 70s.
No, yeah, it's wholly, the movie is pretty much wholly based in the 70s, but there's these crazy, specifically with the tape recorder when it does that, I'm like, "Oh my god, I did not know this movie had all these levels to it." I was like, "Wow." Like it started to dawn on me how complex the film was. And then there's just some really strange scenes. I got to mention there is an insane appearance from Udo Kier, who is an iconic German actor.
Oh, he's the dude who's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this sequence where,
They're
you know,
basically Marcelo or Armando like kind of befriends the cop with the two kids or well
yeah,
sons.
Marcelo, the main character befriends these cops, and they're like, "Hey, we got to show you this guy," and they take him across the street, and they're like, "Hey, you're the German. Show him your scars."
He did, and he wants nothing to do with it, which I
He's
get.
like,
It's like, get the fuck out of here, leave me
he's like, "Get
alone.
away from me." And he's like speaking in German, then he'll speak in Portuguese, and then he like shows off his like scars like on his leg and like on his chest. And there's like this line where I think he says like, "I'm actually Jewish," and like they think I'm like a Nazi, and like he can't like communicate to them because of like a language barrier. But
Mhm.
this is, I believe, this is the last role of Udo Kier.
Oh,
He
like
died.
oh, he died. Okay, gosh,
He died on
damn.
November 23rd.
Oh my gosh, so that's like a month ago today,
Kier, I guess
as of
is how you
recording
say it.
this. Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah, no, Udo Kier is at least how Google is telling me. Yeah, no, he was a legendary German actor who worked with, I believe, Wim Wenders, I think at one point.
Oh my.
Yeah, he was in Melancholia, Lars von Trier. Yeah, he was in a bunch of Lars von Trier. Uh, and then yeah, he was in Fassbinder, The Third Generation. Yeah, I'm trying
Wow.
to remember. I don't actually. He might not have been in Wim Wender. Yeah, he was in Nymphomaniac. Yeah, so he was a big collaborator with von Trier, Dogville. So I was even more, and then he was in this movie Bacurau, which I am really pumped to see now. How much I love The Secret Agent. I watched the trailer for this other Filiu movie, same director as The Secret Agent,
Yeah.
and the trailer for Bacurau is absolutely batshit nuts. It's like this crazy like town, and there's like it looks like there's some kind of conflict. There's like a shot of like a UFO flying through the sky randomly in the trailer, which we'll get
Let's
into with
go.
this film, where the movie feels incredibly casual. It feels so much like it's about this love of Brazil, this love of faces and the culture, and then it starts becoming a spy thriller, but it's not a real spy thriller because it's more a testament to the political repression of the 70s, that even though there are
Mm.
these beautiful cars and beautiful women and beautiful food and dancing. I mean, there's one part. Do you remember when he like comes out of the movie theater and he just starts dancing in the street with like hundreds of people?
Yeah, and they're like blowing like powder on his face or something, like white powder.
Yeah. So there's just like magical scenes in this movie where you're like, I can't believe how free this movie is. Like this is supposed to
Yeah.
be like a thriller, and he's
Remind me
just
of like The Godfather when like the parades are going on.
yeah. There's like this incredible kind of atmospheric, kind of like hypnotic kind of thing. Like so by right around like an hour and a half in, I just started getting locked in where I'm like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
And so I'll get into more of like the contract. There's this other bit about how his son really wants to see Jaws. And so there like the whole thing with the arm and like in the shark is never really like answered of like why that's even brought up at all. It's just almost like
Yeah.
like a little vignette, and it's almost like something that like the child will remember or something, and that's why they become obsessed with Jaws and they really want to see it.
Mm.
Um, and so it starts to progress, and then it really becomes like a masterful thriller, which I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about like the first
but
half?
still like
Because
understated too. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's the sense I got is it was just like a weird experience viewing it in like a good way, because normally when I think I'm kind of aware of what a film is doing, it kind of bores me where I go, okay,
mm,
like this film is like hiding some things that will reveal itself. And I felt like, I mean, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that, obviously, but it started doing that, but I didn't really, I was still like, I don't know, the movie kind of went in like, I would call them like tangents
mhm.
more than like hiding things, you know what I mean? Especially like the when he's in like the apartment complex and it's just all these characters, or the tape recording scene. I mean
Yeah,
that to me felt like a freaking I don't know, like that. I just like lost myself in time. I couldn't tell if that scene was
Yeah.
like 20 minutes long or it was like 5 minutes. I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, because it's in that scene too when they tell him like there are hitmen out to kill you. I'm pretty sure.
And he doesn't have a gun. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so
That's like
it's
a
like,
big piece of the movie. Is he's like, I don't need a gun. I don't need a gun. Then he's like,
oh
uh,
man, that's so fucked up. You're bringing that up. No, that's a great point because that's in the first scene of the movie too when they ask if he has a gun. He says he doesn't have a gun, and
and you know, because they search, like when you were talking about earlier, the first scene of the movie, they search everything in his car.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you, like, as an audience, know he doesn't, even with him saying he doesn't.
yeah. And there's this, like we're saying about like the faces and stuff. I feel like the visual style of the movie is just extremely conversation driven. Like it's a lot of cutting
Mm.
back and forth between people as they talk. And him living in this house, he starts kind of having a little bit of a thing with this woman who lives above him. And it's like really funny. The old woman like is introducing him to everyone and she goes like, "Oh yeah, and this woman, she's gonna live above you, and oh, she really wanted to meet you. By the way, she's single." Yeah. She's just like very much like setting them up in like this really direct way, which, like I said again, it just can't to me without really knowing much about Brazil, it just came across as like Brazilian in a way.
Sure.
Like it
Yeah.
came across like they just like they're very, very friendly, but then there's this thing about how like men and women get together that can be very like direct, but like also like kind of infectious, where like the old woman is like setting them up. And no, like the way that
Yeah,
in the
if this
scene.
was 2025 in the United States, that scene would have never happened.
Yeah, it just seems
They
like it's
never get to know each
culturally.
other.
Yeah, it just seems like a culturally different like thing. Like I'm sure in an American film it would have been like portrayed in a different way, or it might have been like more like cold. Like it might have been like, they have briefer because they have some exchanges, but like I feel like the old woman is so like literal and direct. You're like, okay, are they really gonna get together? And then they do, which is really funny. But it doesn't really cross your mind what this house like is up until you have it. And when he's told there are hitmen coming after him, it cuts to the hitmen like in like a restaurant, which is like, one of these again, the locations are just so gorgeous, like it's like the buildings are beautiful. Like everything about the film is just so authentically this place. Like it's one of the best films you're ever going to see about a particular time and a particular place. Like it feels so authentic. Like the way that it cuts to the hitmen just eating at a restaurant, which is like kind of like one of these like outdoor kind of restaurants,
Yeah.
It's like a really cool, like little, like Brazilian kind of like outdoor bar, and they're just eating. The guy has his big mustache, and then his son or his like stepson Bobby is like next to him, who again looks like really intimidating and like intense. And it cuts back to, you know, Armando in or Marcelo talking to the woman with the tape recorder. And then I think off of this scene, and this is getting more because I don't know if we have anything else to like talk about with like the first half, because there are like aspects of the second half I really want to go into, but just, keeping being clear, this is getting into more like spoiler territory. I would say.
Yeah. Would you say like the second half basically, or like the feeling of like a second half of a movie is basically like after the tape recording,
Yeah, that's.
just to
I
like
mean, I
establish a.
because I could be wrong how deep in the movie it was. I could have swore that tape recorder sequence was like 90 minutes in, or like an hour at
Because
least.
it says I think it said 2 hours and 40 minutes,
Oh yeah, the movie's really long.
which is interesting that I saw it at the same place as um the Mastermind, and I think that's like an hour shorter. And
Mhm.
there was like 3 people there. And this one, it was like almost. I mean, I had to like sit in between a family, so.
No, yeah. There was something. You know what's kind of weird too is like I don't think anyone really saw the Mastermind. I don't think it got any like release, and it got like no hype, even though it's like a great film, which is kind of weird. I like didn't expect. I think it's
And
just
that
because it's
Josh
so.
O'Connor stock seems to be rising too.
Oh
So
well,
that's
yeah, he's in the new Spielberg too.
oh.
Did you see that?
I saw like a trailer for it and I watched like 20 seconds. I was like, I don't even care, whatever.
The aliens, the people who think aliens are real are like flipping out over it. They're like,
I had headphones in and I heard like the like ASMR and I was like, fuck this. I was like, I can't listen to this right now. So I'll watch it, but
yeah, I don't really have an opinion on Josh O'Connor. I know our friend of the show, George, has he really likes Josh O'Connor. I haven't really seen him in too many things. I thought he was great in The Mastermind, but no, point I'm making is that yeah, there's a lot of hype on The Secret Agent, but they are kind of comparable films. I mean, when I was hearing critics at Cannes talk about them, there was a similar kind of sense in the air that they're both kind of like lead you in a direction and then they're kind of misleading. Like,
yes.
but this one is a little bit more. This one is a lot more conventional after a certain point. So but there's this really crazy sequence after he has the tape recording thing where there's like a zombie movie sequence like out of nowhere, like a horror movie sequence
Oh,
where
are you talking about the leg?
yeah.
Yeah, there's like a comic book that they're selling in the town of like a severed leg that's like bloody and it's killing people.
No, so you know what happens is there's this sequence where there are all these like gay dudes like hooking up in the park and it becomes like a horror movie, like a monster movie. And there's this severed leg that's called the hairy leg, and it starts hopping around, and then it just starts kicking all these like gay people in the face and like in the
Yeah, but
genitals.
they kind of cut to it and you're like, is this is this real?
Yeah, it's like genre defying. You're like, I'm watching a movie that was kind of feeling like a casual, like atmospheric like feeling about like this time and place, and now it's becoming a thriller because these hitmen are going to come kill him, and now it just cuts to like a horror movie, and then you realize that the people in the house that he's living in are reading from the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I kind of picked up on this watching it. I looked at that scene as, oh, this is a testament to what like a cultural thing in Brazil. Like the newspapers will have like a story that is like completely fake and it's just funny to the people reading it because it's like whatever, right? It's like Lucretia Martel when has made all of her films in I believe Argentina. She said like in Argentina people are obsessed with seeing like, the Virgin Mary like in everything, right? It's like something like that, like almost like a really particular aspect of this of culture in this Latin American place. And I didn't think of it like, I mean, obviously, it's like kind of like them reading a story out of the newspaper, and then the hairy leg is like stop motion as well,
Yes.
where
And
it's like I
it's
can't
like
believe,
it's kicking people to death, right?
yeah,
it, it's yeah.
no, it's so funny and unexpected where you're like, what is this movie not gonna do? Like this movie is just the most genre
Yes.
defying, bold, multi-layered film, and this is like again, right when around the 90-minute, almost 2-hour mark where you're like, what am I watching? Like, you have no idea where it's going to go. He comes back to the house, he's talking to all these people, and he says, because everyone is kind of talking, and you realize that all these people in this house are political refugees
Yeah.
that have escaped from either different countries or even within Brazil. And he kind of said, someone within the group says, someone wants to kill me or I have a hit out on me. And he confirms it as well. He tells everyone, I have a hit out on me. And they're all kind of like bonding, but then it's like also funny because there's these people from Angola, these black people from Angola,
Mm-hmm.
and the wife is like kind of wanting to tell the group like about their plans, and the husband's like, "Honey, don't tell them anything." And then the old woman's like, "I know you guys are going to Switzerland later." There's just like a huge like laugh in my theater because it's like, and then the old woman is just like really funny, and it's like touching. You realize that this
I was
old
gonna say
woman is
she's funny, but she's also like definitely a surrogate to some sort of soul in this movie, because
yeah, she's like heroic.
she's just so like wise too, just like beautiful.
Yeah, they're like, how are you doing? And she's like, earlier in the film, they're like, how you doing? And she's like, I'm doing great. I wish I was younger, but for a 77-year-old, I'm doing real good, or something like that.
I think she brings that up again too, which is so cute.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then she's like going on a rant. Doesn't she start to tell about her life too in a split
yeah.
second where you're like, wait, what did you say?
And I remember, I think I remember that most about the film, obviously besides stuff that happens in the end, is when they do a toast and she's like, some things in life are horrible, but some things in life are pretty good.
Yeah, so there's this really inspiring thing about the movie, and Filio has said this in the interview I watched today, where he said, "I'm depicting a dark time in Brazilian history, but that doesn't occur to me to make the movie like just like he said, I'll never make a movie that's totally like rainy. Like I love
Mm.
making a film that's like full of sunshine and like life. And the movie is like I mean, I would say most of the film to me is incredibly like life affirming and just really like beautiful, but like it just in the substance of like the interaction in the faces and the energy of it. And then it gets a little bit darker when you realize that the main character has to survive. And here's another thing. This is really crazy. And this, I didn't quite pick up on this with the hairy leg, but the real context of this that the director said in this interview, he said that in Brazil in the 70s, the police would go and like beat up gay people, and they made it, the dictatorship wouldn't want you to write about that. They didn't want people to be told
Mm.
about like a crackdown. And so the newspaper, to get it out, they would literally like write like a horror story and publish it. And
Oh,
people
wow.
and so
Okay.
and so
I
people
was wondering why
literally
everyone was like tremendously gay at that park at night when they're.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
wonder
it's like
why there was like 20 to 30 dudes fucking sucking, having a good time.
yeah, it comes out of nowhere too. You're like, "Oh my god." No, but it's like really random, that sequence, because it's like I almost, again, seeing it without the context, I took it as like a movie that's like completely defying genre, but then it's just like this playful way of like kind of marking like a historical moment that was real, but then in this Brazilian kind of sense, it's like they make it like funny. They make it like funny, the idea that they're being oppressed by the dictatorship. And so yeah, that's a little bit more context. There's this other scene that I got chills watching it because it almost reminded me of like Roberto Bolaño, like one of my favorite writers, is the scene where the hitmen run into the police. Like the hitmen that are coming to kill the main character run into the police that the main character is friendly with, and they like give them a ride.
Oh
And
my god, yeah.
they're all talking and they're all chatting and they're laughing and they're making like reference to like that they all are in on some joke, and it really reminded me of 2666 or Bolaño, where there's like where police being really corrupt is like the vibe, and it comes across as in a bunch of guys kind of like making crass jokes together. And as you're watching it, it's really, like I'm saying, like it's like kind of people hanging out and like laughing and having a good time, but it's very dark. So in this sequence, as a viewer, you're like, wait a second, are the cops now going to help kill the main character?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it
the
gets
cops
like
kind of
really
like him. The cops
strange.
kind of like Armando. Because he's just like a
Yeah.
genuine guy. I don't think they obviously know anything about his real life, but
Yeah, they don't know he's like a leftist. And I think in that scene, In the
Yeah,
sequence where he fights the Garrote guy at the dinner with his wife, he is asked by Garrotti's son, like, I think his son calls him a Marxist or something. He's like,
I think he calls him a
or
communist, and he's like,
no, he calls him a communist, and he says like, his line is like, I'm more a communist than I'm a capitalist, but I'm not a communist or something like that.
it was like,
Because I think they're like, oh, so you hate capitalism? He's like, yeah, pretty much, but. And then he's kind of like, that was kind of the vibe. And then, yeah. So you kind of have this feeling that he's like a leftist, but you can tell that the police would probably hate that about him, but he doesn't bring it up.
yeah.
And so, yeah, to get into like, I mean, the real like spoilers, because I don't know if there's any other like little details with like the first half of the movie. There's basically like chase sequences and like a hit. It's some of the most masterful filmmaking
Well, the guys
you
who are
will
the
ever
hitmen
see.
get another hitman.
Yeah, the hitmen
I
hire
forgot
another
about
guy.
that.
Yeah, they hire another guy that's even more deranged looking than them than they
And
are.
more ruthless, just like
Yeah, he has like a vibe, and oh my god, there's just such a like openness to like how everyone's kind of walking around like in the film, where it's like no one is like hiding. Everyone's just kind of like out on the street, like in the vibe. So it just becomes like this urban like thriller where this guy is like, he tails, Armando's dad, and the dad is like, walks from the theater and takes him to where Armando is working, which again, it really just shows like how little, like how casual Armando is even being when being undercover, right? Like he probably should have like, and then I think at one point, actually, I'm forgetting this bit, that the people that record his conversation earlier, they said that he can't leave the country for some reason, like his passport is like been denied or something.
right.
So that's part of it, is that he just can't leave the country, and he's, his son is with, I think with his dad or with like in-laws type thing, and he like wants to like have his son like live with him again, but but again, it really begs the question of, if there's a hit out on you, should your dad really be visiting you at work? And so there's that vibe with the film that's like really like kind of like heartbreakingly casual, where it's like trying to preserve your life and the
Yeah.
decency of your life, and you're kind of putting your life in danger. And there's this unbelievable sequence where the hitman follows his dad.
Well, it's his father-in-law, I think, right?
Okay, yeah, father-in-law. It's something like that. Uh,
Also, before that, there is like kind of like a, not like a subplot, what's the word? Like a, something that gets brought up is like he asks Armando, like, were you ever unfaithful to my daughter? Do you remember that?
oh yeah, I kind of do
And he's
remember.
like, dude, I loved her, okay? That's enough. Like, and he tells him basically, he's like, so you're taking my grandson. And he's like,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah,
And yeah, then they go their separate ways. But I thought that was interesting how that film put that in there.
yeah.
That
Because
maybe also this guy has, I mean, he is sleeping with a woman. Granted, like, if you're widowed, I don't think that's like that taboo, obviously. But
yeah, it just seems like women come like kind of easy to him, as far as like when the scene where like the woman like that he's working with basically asks him if he's interested in her, and he's like, yeah, I'm interested in women, but it's complicated. Like he doesn't say he's like with a new woman, but he's clearly seeing the woman who lives above him. But there's this incredible sequence where the movie builds this incredible tension of, okay, the hitmen are actually, they're getting close now, like they kind of know where he's at, and the guy, this deranged killer, follows the stepdad or the in-law to where Armando works. And
well, it's the son or the stepson of the hitman, not like the other hitman that they got is following.
no, yeah, no, it's
It's
the
super.
Yeah, they're all kind of it's so the oldest of the hitmen is off doing something else. He kind of gives the go ahead, and his stepson is the one that's kind of managing the deranged killer, and the deranged killer follows the Armando's in-law, and so his in-law goes to the identification place, and there's all these people. It's like a really busy day. He comes inside. He goes, Armando, Armando, and the woman who's like working there, she's like, his name's not Armando, it's Marcelo. And then Armando's like, oh no, it's okay. Come over this way. And she like looks at him like, what the fuck? So like there's this weird, like we're saying, there's this weird casualness where he kind of is okay with like a lot of people knowing that his real name is not is not Marcelo, right? Like, so
Right.
he's just very lax about it in this way that is very like authentic. Like, it doesn't, like, the movie doesn't really explain exactly why he does that, but it's like this weird feeling. So then that's when they talk about how he's going to pick up his son and all this stuff. The in-law leaves, and then the deranged killer walks in, and there's this stunning close-up of Armando's face as he's putting paperwork away, and it's like out of Citizen Kane or something, you know, when they have two parts of the frame in focus at the same time.
Oh yeah.
It's like a
Or
fake shot.
it reminded me of like that. I think the movie Come and See does that. At
Yeah,
like
it's
towards the end of the
Orson
movie with one of the
Welles.
girls that gets abused.
Yeah, Orson Welles like invented that shot because you can't do that. You can't have, because it's like an extreme. It's like a huge close up of Armando on half the frame, and then the other half is like from the
Right, because it'll
perspective
only
of,
like it if it wasn't it was on one camera, it would only pull focus on like one face, right?
yeah. So part of something would be out of focus, like the crowd would be out of focus on that in that close
Okay.
up if it was normal. So it's clearly like two shots combined together or something, which I think is how Orson Welles does it in Citizen Kane. And so you see this deranged killer in this crowd of people, and he's like off to the back, and he's just kind of like, Armando, Armando, and he's calling his name, and it's chilling. You're like, oh my god, this is like moments after his.
Yeah.
And
Like
so
you
the
said, you
woman,
don't know what this movie's going to do. You don't know if he's just going to shoot this guy in front of all these people or what.
yeah, I literally thought he was just going to pull out the gun and start firing. And he's just going like, Armando, Armando. And then the woman again is like, his name is not Armando. And, you know, Armando goes walking into the back, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm on the edge of my seat. This movie is paying off right now. And he goes and he gets the cops, and he goes, hey guys, there's this guy. He's harassing women. He like makes up a bunch of stuff that's not true, but he's like, this guy is like dangerous. I need your help. And he gets these two cops to come and help him. And, oh yeah, I even forgot one of the other like bits before we get to this like spoiler.
Yeah.
Um, one of the cops is that black dude with like the curls.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there's a sequence where him and his buddy smuggle the arm that was found in the shark out of like the morgue. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, they replace it with I think an
Like
animal
like an animal
bone or
hoof or
something.
something.
Yeah.
So the cops are pretty corrupt. Like these cops that he's like friends with,
Yeah.
they seem to be trying to cover up like murders. And oh yeah, I forgot another quote in this movie is that the newspapers are reporting how many people have died during Carnival, and it's like
It's like
90
90,
people.
then
And
91.
the cop thinks it's hilarious. He's like, "Yeah, we'll get to 100 soon." He's like joking about it.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. But there's just this weird vibe with the cops where, just like in Roberto Bolaño's 2666, it's like the cops are in on the murders. Like they're so corrupt that they think it's funny that people are getting killed. And like
Yeah.
they think it's like just a fun thing. And like, so anyway, the getting back to, he goes and gets these
Well,
corrupt cops,
also,
which you
before you say that,
uh,
it's just interesting and like just the decision of having the fucking main guy of this movie who's in danger not have a gun is
yeah,
just
and then he doesn't have a gun,
is
so he
the
needs to
reason
go to
why
the
we're here.
cops.
It's just it makes like everything that unfolds at the end of the movie just interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So he gets the cops. They come over, and when they confront the deranged killer guy, the guy just takes out, and this is in the office. The deranged killer guy goes to the payphone. He's like, "Yeah, I think I got him. Should I kill him?" And then he gets the go ahead from the original hitmen that were sent to kill him. And he turns around in the payphone, and these two cops approach him, and he just fucking guns them down, and it's super violent and
Oh,
fucked up. And then they shoot him, and everyone starts screaming. So it's just chaos. It's people running
do you
everywhere.
remember when, like, in Eddington, when Joaquin Phoenix gets stabbed in the head? And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have, like, blood, like, splatter on the camera in this film. It kind of reminded me of that, where it's just like, ew.
Yeah, because
It's
I
not.
had heard.
It's gross.
Yeah, because Nabil. What really surprised me before this movie was before this movie got like an MPAA rating. I like had heard it was. I didn't know that the movie was violent. All I knew was that it was like secret agent. It's like this. It's like that. It's like kind of. It's hard to predict and really incredibly well made, well acted. But then when I was at the theater and I saw a trailer when I first saw a trailer for it, and it says the MPAA rating, and it says like rated R for strong bloody violence, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And I kind of got scared for a split second. I was like, oh, is this like a new horror movie? And then the trailer starts and it's the secret agent trailer. I'm like, oh my god, this movie is that violent?
Oh,
What?
wow.
Like I was like caught off guard when I first saw the rating, and then when Nabil saw it, he was like, "Yeah." Before Nabil saw it, he said, "I heard it's really gory," and I was like, "Really?" And then he saw it, and he was like, "Yeah." And so there's this shootout, and there's all this blood, and then there's this incredible music where you're like, "Oh my god!" Like edge of your seat. And Bobby is one of the other hitmen. He starts running after the deranged killer, and Armando goes running like another direction. So it really is like a
Right,
chase.
because Bobby's kind of like to the side watching the guy they hired, right?
Yeah, he's like what he is about to watch him. He loses track of him, and then he sees that a bunch of people got shot, and
Yeah.
he starts like following his blood. So there's this whole chase sequence where one of the hitmen is chasing another hitman, and it's really just like an urban thriller. And again, I mean urban as in like it's like in the favelas. It feels like, or like the downtown like area in Brazil, where like all these kind of more like poor like people that live in favelas are all kind of out and about, and it's very open spaces. And I had a friend compare it to Costa Gavras, which is another connection to One Battle After Another, like when Leo watches Battle of Algiers in
Right.
that film. It's kind of like that. It kind of becomes like documentary, like kind of feeling, but also just very open and like in the city, and like it just feels like no one can really no, there's nowhere to hide. So there's this chase sequence, and that and then you're kind of seeing the one of the main cops realize that his boys were gunned down, and he's like behind everything. And I have a really good comparison of this movie that I think you'll appreciate when we get into the biggest spoiler of the film here and we talk about
Oh.
the ending. So the killer is running away, and the other hitman's following him, and you're going like, what is the other hitman going to do? Like, this is kind of a strange situation. And he catches up to him, and he just gets because you think, okay, this Bobby guy is going to kill him. And earlier he had like said some mean shit to him when they were first hiring him. And you're also kind of like, I wonder if this is going to be a weird like accidental killing thing. And so the guy who hired the other guy is trying to track him down, and they end up in like a barber shop, and the deranged killer like shoots the guy who hired him, and then he says like a one liner, like repeating back the mean shit the guy said earlier. You're like, oh shit, this guy just like killed him brutally. And then doesn't the unhinged guy, doesn't he just get away, or does he end up getting shot later?
I think we never see him again. It's just never like resolved.
Yeah. So it's just Bobby that gets killed, and then
And then
I
the
think
cops' two sons.
yeah, so all these people are killed, and it's like, oh my god. And there's this feeling of like, wow, this was like, and it cuts to modern day again. I believe is when it cuts again, and it's a newspaper clipping, and you see like these bodies, and you realize, oh shit, these women in the present day, and you don't really know what their job is, or if they're like university students or what,
Right.
like working at like on computers, like with headphones in and stuff. And they're looking at these photos being like, oh my God, what a violent day. And there's just this shocking moment where isn't there a moment where one of the girls is doing something on her computer that's like completely random? I just like forgot
Yeah, she's
about
like
that.
not even doing anything. She's just like fucking around.
Yeah, what was she doing again? I'm like forgetting.
Yeah, it was just like,
Wasn't
I
she
think
looking at like animals like
it was
attacking
just,
each
yeah, it
other?
was something unrelated to the other girl.
so, so you cut to modern day and you're like, wait, what happened? Like,
Yes.
and then I forget like exactly what the buildup is. Does one of them bring up like, oh yeah, I'm going through the archival material and oh, I need to find something. And then she picks up another newspaper because you're looking at the newspaper clipping of the killing you just saw in the barber shop.
Right.
And you're like, wow, this is kind of a crazy cut. What's gonna happen? And then she like pulls up a newspaper and it's the main character just dead on the ground in a
Yeah.
photo. And
Yeah, he got him evidently.
it's
The
shocking. You're like, what? you're like
Yeah.
you're like, and this is a huge spoiler. This is like near the end of the film.
There's an old lady in the screening and she's just like, "No."
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, I heard people said no in my screening as well. And you know what that reminds me of?
No Country for Old Men.
Yep.
I
That was
when you said that earlier, like I have a comparison and I was like, I wonder if he's gonna talk about like that.
dude, because that's what's so disturbing about No Country is that you don't see Llewellyn get gunned down. It's also similar to this where like the cop is like two steps behind as he's like coming across all this like bloodshed. It's just like
Yeah.
Sheriff Bell, like, the horrors of the time. Oh my God, I'm like there's I can't wait to see this movie again. I feel like we're forgetting like so many little bits and pieces. The subtitle of the film is A Time of Great Mischief.
Oh yeah.
I love that
This
so
movie
much.
takes place in 19, I think like 70 something, a time of great mischief.
Yeah, and I think the old woman and I think the cop might say that. A couple of characters say that in the film.
And then it does the movie does it in what, 3 parts too? There's like a part 1 with a name that I forget the names, but
Oh yeah, I
I
completely
forgot
forgot
about
about that.
that. And then I
Yeah,
also
because the
think,
first part was like the son's like nightmare was one of them, like with the shark, like nightmare.
yeah, I think they're also watching a movie called The Secret Agent in the theater.
Oh yeah, you
Like
might be right.
very quickly. I could be wrong.
Yeah, there's a part like there's some stuff in the movie theater where you see like stuff like on film. But yeah, no, we're forgetting little bits and pieces here and there, but when the main character is shown dead, you're like, where is this gonna go now?
Yeah.
And it's just this kind of beautiful ending where this girl, and do you know exactly who these women are researching like the main character and stuff? Are they like university students or is this like are they like
I don't
working for
know.
something? Yeah, because it's kind of unclear, and so this girl is clearly touched by like what happened. Like she's kind of
Right.
heartbroken, where she's like, "Wow, I was like studying this case of this guy trying to get away, and I figured out that he just got gunned down because two of the that's where you're at when you see the barbershop killing is you're like, oh wow, now are they going to go after Armando? Like what's going to happen? And then to see him dead, you're like, oh Jesus. And
Yeah.
it's in the contemporary world and stuff. And it's like this girl, she goes home and she's with her like boyfriend and her or maybe her husband, I'm not sure, but she has like a baby. And so she's like,
Also, not clear, like, is that the same actress? Because clearly she looks older, but if they got 2 different actresses, they look very fucking similar.
oh yeah, no, the girl, like there are the two women who are like with their headphones in doing like
Yeah.
the research. Yeah, one of them ends up going back to her own, like, yeah, that's the same actress or one of the actresses who's like doing the research, and she goes back home and she's with her baby,
Damn.
and so she's with her baby, and she's clearly like looking at her phone, just being like, devastated, and she essentially seeks out. And yeah, we're not even bringing up like as much that there are these scenes between the main character and his son early in the film, and
Right.
then it cuts to this girl going to like a blood bank, and she's like giving blood, and then here comes Wagner
Oh.
Moura. And this is another huge spoiler reveal, which I was not expecting, is that Wagner Moura doesn't just play Armando, who's pretending to be Marcelo. He plays Armando's son like 40 years in the future, which is modern day.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's Wagner Moura
That's the
playing.
same actor?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's the doctor.
What?
Yeah, it cuts
That's
to Wagner
fucking with me.
Moura. It cuts to Wagner Moura. I didn't even quite recognize him at first
No,
either,
because he's
because
got contacts
he
and
has gray hair, and then he talks completely different. He has a completely different, like, the way he like says like his words, and like
what?
is just very underspoke. Yeah, very understated. Because he was always understated, but he's like a very kind of like masculine, kind of like he's like a leftist, but he's like a kind of like a, a leading man kind of like face and like
Right.
appearance. And then when it cuts to the woman talking to his son 40 years later, and it's played by the same actor, he's kind of like an effete, like more gray-haired, soft-spoken, like not soft-spoken like Gary Cooper, but soft-spoken like, like a guy who's a doctor who like is not
Yeah.
like a secret agent. He's not like in a thriller movie. He's just like a normal guy. He's just a normal guy living his life working in a blood bank. And this girl, and it's hard not to be moved by this sequence where she's just kind of like talking to him about his dad, and he's like being like, yeah, so this was my life, and I barely even remember my dad. Like, you know him better than I do. Like, you've been
Yeah,
listening to
it's a
these
different
recordings, and I
different
don't even
ending.
know.
Because normally it's like, oh my god, I in a shittier movie it would be, oh my gosh, thank you, oh, it's so nice to like hear my dad's voice again. Oh, he's like, yeah, I mean, like you said, he says, you know my father more than I did, and he's like, I don't even remember that day that I saw him. No, it's like basically he's uh recalling what his grandfather told him about it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like this. Oh my god! And just like the way that Wagner Mora is like so sad in that scene, like playing the son, and he's so sad, but he's like removed in a way where it's like in like the jump cut, like sorry, it's the jump cut is 100% the wrong term. I mean the cut, like the cut to modern day is so like separated by time that there's
Mm,
like this heaviness to it where you're like, yeah, I mean the kid is like barely in the movie, but when you see him as like an older man, you're like, yeah, he probably wouldn't even like remember like almost anything. Like he was pretty young. And
yeah,
then she's like, yeah, here's a flash drive. You can like listen to your father in interviews and stuff. And do you remember the substance of anything they talked about? Because a lot of the movie is so much of it is like very conversational, but there's always something like a little bit, I don't want to say
right,
missing, but like it's almost like the object of scenes is like there's something unsaid where you're like, wait, how does she actually know him? Like, how did she track him down? And he seems to kind of have a familiar memory of her as well, which I wonder is like maybe they exchanged emails, and maybe she was like a researcher, and so
right,
she's just kind of like, wants to have like some kind of connection with the person, like the guy's son that she's like researching, that was like a either, I don't want to go as far as say a revolutionary, but someone who was killed by like, either fascist or dissident, like, or someone who was like a dissident who was killed by fascist or corrupt police. Who even knows? I don't even know if they even say like who pulled the trigger on the main character getting killed either. I think it's just kind of assumed it was the hitmen got caught up to him. But so she's meeting with him. You don't really know what she wants, and it's just this incredibly cathartic scene that comes out of nowhere. It's like the
right.
last. I mean, I had no idea. Like, you really thought that you were going to see either the main character escape, or I literally thought when Nabil said the movie was gory and I heard it was violent, I thought it might have been like almost like a Tarantino type of like
Oh, sure.
ending. Like I almost could have seen, or like Unforgiven, like with Clint Eastwood, he has an incredible shootout and he prevails, you know? So
Yeah. Oh, I
there's
think like
something.
you want to just associate the word gratuitous with it, but it is violent, but there's not that like
Mhm.
there's not that much violence in it, but the violence in it is very violent.
Yeah. No, and like the hairy leg and stuff. Like there is a level of playing with genre where the movie has this kind of transcendent, it works with all these genres and then it just gets to a place that's really just talking about time and space and like, people's relationship with each other. But no, and then there's this incredible thing right before the movie ends where she gives him the flash drive, they walk out, and then he goes, "Hey, I actually ended up seeing Jaws. Like I was so scared of
Oh
it
yeah.
because I saw the poster and the poster scared me. And then I finally was shown the movie and I stopped having nightmares. And you know where I saw it? I saw it right here." And he says, "This blood bank used to be a movie theater. And
Oh yeah.
I'm working in the same building that I
He says,
saw
"Do you want a
Jaws."
coincidence?" I think is what he said to her
Oh
before.
wow, yeah.
How he brings it up.
Which, the director of the movie said that that's literally like that blood bank, that's literally where he saw like Star Wars for the first time.
Oh wow.
So that last location like actually was like a movie theater in like the 70s, and then it became a blood bank.
Damn.
So there's just a lot of like documentary like things to it, and then I think she just walks off and I think the movie ends, right?
Yeah. Just kind of holds on that
And then there's just this just magnificent credit sequence where it goes through the entire ensemble.
Yeah, a lot of people I had to leave because I was like uh it was a long drive for me. So I dipped out, but it looked like everyone as I was leaving was just not getting up and just staying through the credit sequence.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing little credit. It's very much like the stylish, like as like the rest of the film is, because there are like different things about it, like with some of the transitions in the film, like there are like these little moments of kind of acknowledging like the 70s kind of feeling, and the credit sequence is kind of like that, and like the music and no, really, I was. I mean, yeah. Concluding thoughts on just like after we explain this incredibly hard to predict plot with so many different details and
Yeah.
like yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite films of the year. I was pretty blown away that it was so ambitious and so layered and so many great performances. And yeah, I mean it's up there for me as far as like, I mean we'll do like a yearly rankings in the next like month or something probably, but
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty high up there for me. I really fell in love with this director, and I don't know. I think it's a pretty inspiring way to make a movie about like this topic. I feel like there's so many ways to make this movie where it's just because I don't even know if I would say the movie like doesn't take itself seriously, but it's like this casual. It's like very
Yeah. It's
like out of life. Like the movie just feels very, very, very realistic, and then there's like that horror movie sequence, which is kind of like a funny like moment, but so much of the movie is so dark. It's like about an incredibly corrupt time. And the filmmaker clearly detests, Bolsonaro, who was the president for years in Brazil.
mm, yeah.
And he's out of power and they're trying to throw him in prison. And the director is definitely happy that the government is, a left wing government again. But I believe Bolsonaro, I don't know exactly everything about his reign. He was democratically elected and he also got thrown out of office. They had their own January 6th in Brazil as well, I
Right.
heard,
Yeah.
where he tried to like contest the results and then they're just like, yeah, we're going to throw you in prison. So I think he's like facing like decades in prison. And I think, you know, I don't know if he really got all that close to what the military dictatorship really was for 20 years in Brazil. I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he just had a lot of fond feelings about it. I think Bolsonaro would just publicly say that those 20 years were awesome. And
Mm.
I think he like went in the direction of like very right wing, but I feel like it still was because obviously if he was powerful enough, he wouldn't have been kicked out of office. You know what I mean? Like if he was a true military dictator, he would still be in power. So to some degree, it seems like their government has you know corrected itself, but it is pretty wild the idea that they're going to throw him in jail. I don't even know what he's being charged with, but
We need a
the
movie about
director,
that.
yeah, and in the con press conference and stuff, like yeah, they're again, it's very similar to One Battle After Another. It really is. These two movies are really almost like companion pieces for the year. Like
Hmm.
this kind of revolt from like not necessarily just like the present moment, but kind of
Oh
like
wow.
it's because I don't know. I feel like with both movies too. I feel like if someone sees these movies and they go, "Oh yeah, One Battle After Another," that's telling me that being like a radical leftist, Weather Underground person is good. That's what I should do. It's like no, I don't think that's what it's saying. It's the same thing with The Secret Agent. I don't think it's saying that this main guy is like necessarily perfect. I think it's more just kind of being like, you know, and these aren't like resistance films. I almost, it's like such a weird term. I almost like I don't even have enough like intellectual momentum in this moment to like really
Fair.
assess those two films. Like what even would be like a resistance film? I mean, I don't think the movies are saying like resist the government or anything. I think they're more just being like, they're more fascinated by characters caught up in a time and place. And, I think the filmmakers are both left leaning, but I don't think they have ideological statements in the films themselves. Like you can tell that Filio and PTA probably do have a lot of like kind of left leaning political beliefs, but I don't think the movies are like diatribes being like, oh, this is correct and this is wrong. It's more just being like, uh, the movies are more reactions to systems that are trying to destroy them, like characters that are trying to be destroyed by a system that hates them.
Mm.
And to me, that is where you really get this like dignity that to me is way grander than like, oh yeah, isn't like Marxism awesome? It's like I don't really know if I
Right.
don't really know. I mean, even in The Secret Agent, he had such a brilliant line where he said, I'm more a communist than I am a capitalist, or something like that. I'm butchering it, but he had a line that was extremely nuanced. That was like two like kind of thugs, like kind of calling him a communist off of. And again, the movie is never really that like direct. There's a lot of like implication in like what people are saying, so you don't really know if he said anything that was that communist. But for someone to accuse someone of being a communist, which in that context is dangerous, right? It's like illegal to be a communist under the dictatorship, and for him to have the courageousness to still cri-
Cojones.
critique, yeah, to criticize capitalism, because again, I don't think anyone would say that. I mean, some people would, but I don't think a lot of people who either watch these movies or who have a nuanced opinion on these topics are going to say that some radical system is like the way. And I feel like that both these movies kind of have that kind of feeling. I mean, The Secret Agent even more than One Battle After Another, just because of that moment where it's more like like I said, the character is reacting to his environment. He's not a communist in the sense that a radical communist government probably wouldn't solve, the problems of 70s Brazil, is kind of the feeling that I got from what his character believed. But then he clearly has a lot of problems with the dictatorship, which seemed in like the present moment of the film seems to be a lot more of the issue than, which again, I think One Battle After Another. I think Pynchon and PTA. I don't think it's as much like it's not quite as like literal as like the secret. To me, the Secret Agent is like just completely truthful to like the historical moment. Like everything about the movie is like a period piece, and then cutting to the present day and all this stuff. And it's just everything about it is like factually true. One Battle After Another, it has a lot of kind of exaggerated elements in it about the present day and also about, because there's some time jumps, them taking selfies and stuff. And sometimes you kind of lose track of like what era it is. Like when
Sure.
they take the photos of Perfidia when she's in like, she gets captured in One Battle After Another and people are taking selfies. And you're like, wait, isn't this like 20 years earlier? Like
Yeah,
later in
isn't this
the,
supposed to be like Bush
yeah. Because when I first saw the
era?
movie, I was like, oh, I thought the first part of One Battle After Another was like the Bush era, and then the
Yeah.
second part is like the Trump era.
People freaking like I've seen people like be like, that's a movie mistake that the movie makes. I'm like, shut up. Who cares?
No, but then they do and then they do the selfie. But but this is such an interesting point to make. That proves in itself that One Battle After Another is clearly kind of an exaggerated lengthening of the present in a way. Like
Mm.
maybe the first part of the movie is in the Trump era, and then the second part is like 20 years in another
Oh
version
Christ.
of. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's not really that obvious.
Right.
It seems like it is. It seems like the whole movie is set contemporary, but there's like I'm saying with exaggerated. It's not like a historically it's not like firmly grounded like the way that the Secret Agent
Yeah.
is, where this is literally this blood bank is a place where the director literally saw Star Wars when he was a kid, and the hairy leg is something that his aunts or his mom. He literally said this in an interview. He said that his mom was reading the newspaper about this hairy leg attacking gay people in the park.
That's crazy.
And he was like, "What?" And it's just like
Yeah.
so it's extremely documentary, but like I said, the political reaction, kind of the sense of these movies kind of being, almost like about dignity in the face of like a system that wants to destroy you. And
Mm.
I don't know. It's amazing. I mean, I'm pretty fucking pumped about 2025. This has been a unbelievable year for film. I mean, to get a new Lav Diaz and a new Paul Thomas Anderson in the same year, I'm already like, oh my God. And then
Mm.
The Secret Agent and Resurrection are just absolutely incredible films. What a insane year. So we'll be back next week. We might go to war with Timothy Chalamet here, or we might give him his flowers. I think he probably gives a good performance, but I don't know, man. Wagner Moura, that's a real actor. Timothy Chalamet, Timothy Chalamet is like that's I don't know. He's good,
We
but
need to
like
make YouTube shorts and just make that one of our.
bro, we might have. I mean, because it's just there's no Wagner Moura plays a father and the son separate like in the same movie.
I
The
didn't know it was the same. I literally didn't know it was him. So
the son and then the son is clearly like older than the father even was when he gets killed. Like,
yeah.
it's like completely mind melting, and then the accents that he gives are completely different. He's a totally different guy that looks the same or similar, but they do his hair and his makeup in such a way where it's like extremely subtle how different he looks as like the son. Timothy Chalamet, really? Is okay. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Because of course, if I put this part out, and then I don't like Marty Supreme, people are going to be like, "See, you
Last
don't
week
even
on
give it a
Half of God's
chance."
Face podcast, Timothy Chalamet, really?
Before I even see the movie,
That
I'm
should
just
that should be
angrily.
you should like just have this play for next episode like
Oh yeah, that should be a
previously
flashback.
on.
That should be a flashback. That's such a good idea.
And then, all right. So what are you gonna say about that?
Holy shit! I'm literally gonna do that. That's such a good idea. Write that down.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I'll put this in the beginning of next week's episode. But anyway, I think we pretty much touched on everything. Total masterpiece. Really makes me love film more than ever. Hell yeah. No, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. If anyone's buying Criterions for anyone, the Nora one has like the sexiest image on it I've ever seen on a Criterion. Everyone's got those Criterion Secret Santas going on in their film groups.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Get the Criterion of Eyes Wide Shut and see if they had the alternative ending where
Larry Nassar is
Tom Cruise gives his baby to the cult. Gives his kid to the cult. Let's see if that's in the alternative Blu-ray. Something tells me it's not, but let us know. Leave a comment. Comment, like, subscribe. Hashtag have a God's face. Hashtag Wagner Moura.
Forever.
All right. Bye.
Bye.